The skies over Korea in the early 1950s were a battleground like no other. It was a time when the world held its breath, watching as two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, clashed in a war that would redefine the future of aerial combat. Amidst the chaos, one aircraft emerged as a symbol of fear, innovation, and unmatched performance. This is the story of the MiG-15, the ghost of Kyiv, a jet that defied all odds and became a legend. But to understand its rise, we must first go back to the beginning, to the origins of this remarkable machine, and the turbulent era that gave birth to it. The story of the MiG-15 begins in the aftermath of World War II. The world was divided, and the Cold War was just beginning to take shape. The Soviet Union, determined to match the technological advancements of the West, set out to create a jet fighter that could dominate the skies. The task fell to the Mikoyan-Gurevich Design Bureau, led by the brilliant engineers Artem Mikoyan and Mikhail Gurevich. Their mission was clear: build a jet that could outperform anything the West had to offer. The result was the MiG-15, a sleek swept-wing fighter powered by a revolutionary turbojet engine. Its design was a masterpiece of engineering, combining speed, maneuverability, and firepower in a way that had never been seen before. But what truly set the MiG-15 apart was its armament. A pair of 23mm cannons and a single 37mm cannon capable of tearing through enemy aircraft with devastating precision. The MiG-15 made its first flight in December of 1947, and it was immediately clear that the Soviets had created something extraordinary. The jet could reach speeds of over 670 miles per hour and climb to altitudes of over 50,000 feet, making it one of the fastest and most agile fighters of its time. But its true test would come not in the skies over Russia, but in the far-off battlegrounds of Korea. When the Korean War broke out in June 1950, the world was thrust into a new kind of conflict, one where jet fighters would play a central role. The United Nations forces, led by the United States, quickly established air superiority with their fleet of F-86 Sabres and other advanced aircraft. But the Soviets had a surprise in store. In late 1950, the MiG-15 made its combat debut, and it immediately changed the game. The jet's superior performance and firepower gave it a decisive edge over the older, slower aircraft used by the UN forces. The MiG-15's arrival marked the beginning of a new era in aerial combat, one where your speed and technology would determine the outcome of battles. The skies over northwestern Korea, an area that would come to be known as MiG Alley, became the stage for some of the most intense dogfights in history. Here, the MiG-15 faced off against the F-86 Sabre in a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. The Sabre was a formidable opponent, but the MiG-15's agility and firepower often gave it the upper hand. Among the many pilots who flew the MiG-15, one name stands out: Captain Sergei Kramarenko. Known as the Ghost of Kyiv, Kramarenko was a Soviet ace who became a legend in his own time. His exploits in the skies over Korea were the stuff of nightmares for UN pilots, and his skill and bravery earned him a place in the annals of aviation history. Kramarenko's story begins in the early days of the Korean War, when he was assigned to the 176th Guards Fighter Aviation Regiment. From the moment he first took to the skies in his MiG-15, Kramarenko proved himself to be a natural pilot. His ability to outmaneuver and outthink his opponents quickly made him one of the most feared pilots in MiG Alley. One of Kramarenko's most famous missions took place on April 12, 1951, during the Battle of Suncheon. That day, Kramarenko and his squadron were tasked with intercepting a group of American B-29 bombers. The bombers, escorted by F-86 Sabres, were on a mission to destroy a key bridge near the Yalu River. Kramarenko knew that the success of the mission depended on his ability to break through the Sabre escort and take out the bombers. As the MiG-15s approached the formation, Kramarenko ordered his squadron to attack. The Sabres, caught off guard by the speed and ferocity of the MiGs, scrambled to defend the bombers. But Kramarenko was too quick. He darted through the formation, his cannons blazing, and within minutes, two B-29s were plummeting to the ground in flames. The battle was far from over, though. The Sabres, now fully aware of the threat posed by Kramarenko, closed in on his MiG-15. What followed was a high-speed dogfight that pushed both man and machine to their limits. Kramarenko used every trick in the book to outmaneuver his opponents, diving, rolling, and climbing in a desperate bid to shake them off. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Kramarenko managed to escape, his MiG-15 riddled with bullet holes but still flying. The Battle of Suncheon was a turning point in the Korean War, and Kramarenko's actions that day earned him the title of Ghost of Kyiv. But his story was far from over. Over the course of the war, Kramarenko would go on to score dozens of victories, cementing his place as one of the greatest pilots of the jet age. The MiG-15's performance in Korea sent shockwaves through the aviation world. For the first time, the West was faced with a jet that could match, and in some cases, surpass, their own aircraft. The MiG-15's success forced the United States to rethink its approach to aerial combat, leading to the development of new tactics and technologies. But the MiG-15's impact went beyond the battlefield. It became a symbol of Soviet engineering prowess and a testament to the power of innovation. The jet's design influenced the development of future aircraft, and its legacy can still be seen in the fighters of today. But the story of the MiG-15 doesn't end here. We witnessed its debut in the skies over Korea, its dominance in the infamous MiG Alley, and the legendary exploits of Captain Sergei Kramarenko, the ghost of Kiev. But the story of the MiG-15 is far from over. Today we dive deeper into the secrets of this iconic aircraft, the lives of the pilots who flew it, and the untold missions that shaped its legacy. This is the story of how the MiG-15 became more than just a plane. It became a symbol of courage, innovation, and the relentless pursuit of victory. The MiG-15 was not just a machine, it was a weapon of war, a tool of strategy, and a lifeline for the pilots who depended on it. For the Soviet Union, it was a statement, a declaration that they could compete with the best the West had to offer. But for the pilots who flew it, the MiG-15 was something more personal. It was their home in the skies, their shield against danger, and their key to survival in one of the most brutal conflicts of the 20th century. One such pilot was Lieutenant Ivan Kozhedub, the highest-scoring Soviet ace of World War II. Though Kozhedub's fame came from his exploits in the war against Nazi Germany, his role in the Korean War was no less significant. Assigned to train and lead a new generation of MiG-15 pilots, Kozhedub brought his experience and wisdom to the skies over Korea. His leadership was instrumental in shaping the tactics that would make the MiG-15 such a formidable opponent. Kozhedub's approach was simple, but effective. Use the MiG-15's strengths to your advantage. Its speed and climb rate allowed it to strike quickly and disappear before the enemy could react. Its armament was devastating at close range, but Kozhedub emphasized precision over volume. A single well-placed shot is worth 100 wasted bullets, he would tell his pilots. And they listened. Under his guidance, the MiG-15 pilots became a force to be reckoned with. But not all MiG-15 pilots were Soviet. In a twist of Cold War intrigue, the Soviet Union secretly deployed pilots from other communist countries to fly the MiG-15 in Korea. Among them were Chinese and North Korean pilots, many of whom had little experience with jet aircraft. Training these pilots was a daunting task, but the Soviets were determined to create a united front against the UN forces. One of the most remarkable stories from this period is that of Captain Zhang Jihui, a Chinese pilot who became a national hero. Zhang's first encounter with the MiG-15 was a baptism by fire. Assigned to a squadron of inexperienced pilots, he quickly distinguished himself with his quick reflexes and fearless attitude. In one particularly daring mission, Zhang led a group of MiG-15 against a formation of American F-86 Sabres. Despite being outnumbered, Zhang's squadron managed to shoot down 2 Sabres and force the rest to retreat. It was a small victory, but it was a sign that the MiG-15 could hold its own against the best the West had to offer. But the MiG-15's success was not without cost. The skies over Korea were unforgiving, and the risks were immense. For every victory there were losses, pilots who never returned, planes that were shot down, and missions that ended in tragedy. The MiG-15 was a powerful weapon, but it was not invincible. And for every pilot who survived, there were countless others who paid the ultimate price. One such pilot was Lieutenant Nikolai Sutyagin, a Soviet ace who scored 21 victories during the Korean War. Sutyagin's story is one of skill, bravery, and sacrifice. His first encounter with the enemy came during a routine patrol over MiG Alley. Spotting a group of American F-86 Sabres, Sutyagin led his squadron into battle. What followed was a fierce dogfight that tested the limits of both man and machine. Sutyagin's MiG-15 was hit multiple times, but he managed to shoot down 2 Sabres before making a harrowing escape. It was a close call, but it was also a testament to the resilience of the MiG-15 and the skill of its pilots. But not all missions ended in triumph. On one fateful day, Sutyagin's squadron was tasked with intercepting a group of American B-2 bombers. The mission was critical. The bombers were targeting a key supply route, and their success could turn the tide of the war. Sutyagin and his pilots attacked with everything they had, but the bombers were heavily defended. In the chaos of the battle, Sutyagin's MiG-15 was hit by enemy fire. Despite his best efforts, he was forced to eject, leaving his plane to crash into the mountains below. Sutyagin survived, but the loss of his MiG-15 was a sobering reminder of the dangers of aerial combat. The MiG-15's impact on the Korean War cannot be overstated. It was a game-changer, a plane that forced the United States to rethink its approach to aerial combat. But its legacy extends far beyond the battlefield. The MiG-15 was a symbol of innovation, a testament to the power of engineering and the human spirit. It was a plane that defied expectations, challenged the status quo, and proved that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. But the story of the MiG-15 does not end with the Korean War. In the years that followed, the MiG-15 would go on to serve in conflicts around the world, from the Middle East to Africa. It would become a symbol of resistance, a tool of revolution, and a reminder of the enduring power of flight. And though it has long since been retired, the MiG-15 remains a legend, a plane that shaped the skies and changed the course of history. As we look back on the story of the MiG-15, we are reminded of the courage and sacrifice of the pilots who flew it. They were ordinary men thrust into extraordinary circumstances, fighting not just for their countries, but for their survival. They were the ghosts of Kiev, the aces of MiG Alley, and the unsung heroes of the skies. And though their names may be forgotten, their legacy lives on in the planes they flew and the battles they fought. So the next time you look up at the sky, remember the MiG-15. Remember the pilots who flew it, the battles that they fought, and the sacrifices they made. For they were more than just soldiers, they were legends. And their story is one that will never be forgotten.